My phone rang, and when I answered, without even saying my name, she fired. "What makes you think you deserve this money?" Lucy's voice, my stepmother, was dripping with sarcasm and cruelty. Now the family inheritance belongs to Olivia, and to be honest, she is in a much more favorable situation than you could ever imagine yourself being, of course. I am Helena Benson, 26 years old, and I spent years trying to distance myself from my family's toxicity. As a pharmaceutical consultant, I'm always traveling, constantly on the move. But that afternoon, in Riverton City, everything changed. Lucy, my stepmother, called to tell me that she had stolen the inheritance my mother fought to build for me. Her words cut like sharp blades. I gripped the table of the hotel where I was staying, trying to contain the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me. My heart pounded, but my voice remained steady. "Thanks for letting me know." That was it. No explosions, no despair, no tears. I could imagine Lucy's frustration when she realized she wouldn't get the spectacle she wanted. "That's all you have to say?" she insisted, trying to provoke a reaction. "Olivia needs this money for her wedding and new house. You're just going to waste it on that dead-end career of yours," she added with disdain. I thought of my mother. She had built her business from the ground up, working tirelessly to secure my future. That inheritance was more than just money. It was a symbol of everything she had achieved, a way of continuing to protect me even after she was gone. And now Lucy, the woman my father married just a year after my mother's death, had finally gotten her hands on what she had always coveted. "Do you have anything else to say?" I asked, still keeping my composure. On the other end of the line, silence. She didn't know, but I was prepared. 5 months earlier, my mother's lawyer, Mr. Thomas, had warned me about Lucy's constant inquiries about the inheritance. We acted quickly. Documents were reviewed, legal protections were reinforced, and any attempt to access the money would be illegal and subject to prosecution. "You've always been a disappointment," Lucy finally spat in one last attack. "Olivia deserves this more than you. You never did." With nothing else to say, I hung up the phone. I looked out the hotel window at the Riverton City skyline. My hands were shaking, but not out of fear. What Lucy didn't understand was that this war was already lost for her. Growing up under the same roof as Lucy was like walking on shattered glass. My mother passed away when I was 14, a victim of a terminal illness. A year later, my father brought Lucy and her daughter, Olivia, into our home. From the very first day, it was clear we would never be a real family. My father buried himself in work to avoid dealing with the pain, while Lucy did everything she could to erase me. Olivia became the household favorite. Her achievements, no matter how small, were celebrated as great victories. Me. My scholarships, my acceptance into business school, my academic successes went unnoticed. When I graduated as the top student in my class, there was no party, no congratulations, no pride in my father's eyes. Just an emptiness that hurt more than any of Lucy's scorn. Over time, I learned not to expect anything from them. I focused on my career and built my own independence. The inheritance remained untouched, not because I didn't need it, but because accessing it meant confronting Lucy. And I didn't want to give her that satisfaction. But now, she had crossed a line that could not be ignored. I decided it was time to act. I picked up the phone and called Mr. Thomas, my fingers firm on the device, though I could still feel the anger pulsing through my veins. He answered quickly, his voice familiar and reassuring. "Lucy finally played her cards," I said without hesitation. "She put everything in Olivia's name." I had expected this, but even so, the anger burned inside me. "This morning, I received a notice about an attempt to access the account," I said. Mr. Thomas's voice remained calm. "Don't worry, Helena. The layers of protection we set up worked exactly as planned. Every attempt was tracked and recorded." I let out a sigh of relief, realizing I had been holding my breath. Lucy hadn't transferred a single cent, as he confirmed. She had been caught in the act. And we had all the evidence. Would you like to proceed with the next steps? He asked. I thought about all the years of manipulation, the venomous comments, the way Lucy had worked to undermine my relationship with my father. She was so certain she had control of the situation, so sure I would never fight back, that she never even considered that I might be several steps ahead of her. Yes, I answered with determination. It's time to settle this once and for all. Send all the documentation to the legal consultant and make sure my father receives a copy. I want him to know exactly what his wife was trying to do. Consider it done, Mr. Thomas said. Helena, your mother would be proud of you. She always knew your intelligence went far beyond what others could see and that you deserved much more respect. I wasn't fighting for the money. I was fighting for respect, for my mother's legacy, and above all, for myself. This time, Lucy would learn that I was no longer the fragile teenager she had tried to destroy. I was ready. After ending the call, I grabbed my phone and booked a flight to my hometown. I had family matters to resolve, and this time, everything would be in my hands. I arrived in Denver the next morning. The cold winter air carried a sharp breeze, and my father's house, where I had spent my childhood, seemed untouched by time. But something felt different. Maybe it was me. I had informed them that I was on my way, but I hadn't mentioned anything about my conversation with Lucy. I knew this would be the last time I allowed her to take control of the situation. When I entered the living room, my father was sitting on the couch. Lucy and Olivia were by his side. Lucy's disdainful gaze faltered when she saw me walk in. For a brief moment, I saw surprise on her face. But she quickly regained her composure and smirked. Helena. My father looked at me, surprised. I wasn't expecting you so soon. How are you? We need to talk, Dad, I said. Lucy shifted uncomfortably in her chair but tried to maintain an air of superiority. About what? She asked with feigned indifference. I took out my laptop, where I had the document Mr. Thomas had sent me. Dad, Lucy wasn't satisfied with destroying our father-daughter relationship. She called me yesterday to tell me that she transferred all the money from my bank account to Olivia. Since this is a matter of extreme importance, I came to tell you in person what is happening. Lucy's face went pale. I was only trying to help Olivia. It wasn't for me. She tried to justify herself, but her voice was tense. Lucy, every attempt you made to access the account is recorded, I said calmly. Every call, every forged signature, every fraudulent action, it's all here. I handed my father the full report. He took the document with trembling hands and started flipping through the pages. Horror spread across his face with each line he read. What is this, Lucy? What did you do? His voice was barely audible. She's lying. Olivia shouted, stepping forward angrily in defense of her mother. I pulled out another copy of the investment contract. The statement was clear. The money was intact and secure. Lucy's manipulation attempts had failed because I had been warned about her plans months ago. I had taken the necessary precautions. You set me up. Lucy screamed, furious. The air in the room grew heavy as my father continued to leaf through the documents. With each page, he uncovered more about Lucy's actions. The manipulative messages she sent to the bank, the forged signatures, the calculated steps to take what was rightfully mine. Everything was there, undeniable. Lucy tried to regain her composure and laughed, as if I had just told a joke. This is ridiculous. I only wanted to secure a future for my daughter. And my father interrupted her. The documents are here. You tried to forge my signature. You lied to the bank. His voice was tight. He looked at me, his eyes filling with a sadness and pain I hadn't seen since my mother's death. Olivia stood up, furious. Helena has always been jealous of me. She just wants to hurt us. Jealous? I asked, looking at her firmly. I built my career from nothing. I worked to achieve everything I have. What my mother left me was her decision, a resource to ensure my independence. But your mother, she couldn't stand that. Lucy finally lost her patience. You set me up, Helena. No, Lucy. I protected what was mine, just like my mother taught me. My father continued flipping through the documents, his expression growing darker. With each page, he uncovered more about Lucy's schemes, the manipulative messages she sent to the bank, the forged signatures, the calculated steps to take what was mine. Everything was there, recorded without a shadow of a doubt. Finally, he slammed the folder shut and looked at Lucy with an expression I had never seen before. Enough, Lucy. She tried to argue. Everything I did was for our family. For our family. You tried to forge my signature. You lied to me, deceived the bank. Lucy opened her mouth to protest but couldn't say anything. Olivia glanced back and forth, in shock. I turned back to my father. Mr. Thomas found more evidence. She has been withdrawing small amounts from your account for years, accumulating a significant sum. His face went pale as he sank into his chair, visibly shaken. I felt a pang in my chest for being the bearer of such a painful truth, but he needed to know. The truth always comes to light, my father murmured, staring at Lucy with a cold gaze. My lawyer will be in touch to start the divorce process. Lucy had nowhere left to run. The lawyer had already sent the documents to the authorities. Everything was being handled legally. I walked out of that house feeling relieved. For so long, I had felt powerless against Lucy's manipulations. But now, I was in control. My mother taught me that protecting what is ours isn't selfishness. It's survival. The days that followed were not easy. My father and I finally started to understand each other. We sat on the porch of the house, the same place where he often played with me when I was a child. We would talk late into the night, laugh together. We were such a happy family. Everything was so vivid in my mind. But I was no longer a child, and unfortunately, I no longer had my mother. I never imagined I would say this, but that night, after so long, we had a real conversation. My father sighed, staring at the sunset through the window. I made mistakes, he murmured. After I lost your mother, I was so scared of being alone that I didn't see what you were going through. I should have been more present. I let you down. We both made mistakes, I replied, my voice calmer than I expected. I could have told you earlier about what Lucy was doing, but I wanted proof. I needed you to see it with your own eyes. My life settled into a new rhythm. My pharmaceutical solutions consulting firm was growing rapidly, attracting clients who valued my direct approach and industry expertise. With increasing demand, I built a small team, including Alana, a skilled technician who, in some ways, reminded me of my mother. She had the same drive, the same determination to prove her worth. The legal proceedings moved quickly. Lucy was sued for corruption and abuse of power. She tried to portray herself as the victim, claiming she was only trying to mend the differences between Olivia and me, but the evidence was clear. Message records revealed her discreet attempts to manipulate information for her own benefit. Lucy's trial resulted in an unexpected decision. Although she managed to avoid prison, she had to face a significant financial penalty and lost the right to hold any position in the financial sector. This event marked the closing of a turbulent chapter as I prepared to embark on a new journey. This time, truly feeling in control of my own destiny. My father made an effort to rebuild our bond. We saw each other every week, sharing memories about my mother. One day, he told me, "Do you know what your mother always said about you? That you're like a diamond, shaped by pressure, always coming out stronger." He started sharing stories about my mother that he had kept secret for so long. He told me how they met at a business conference, the initial struggles of their entrepreneurial journey, and the late nights spent planning the future they had always envisioned. Each of these stories was like a balm, easing the pain of absence and misunderstandings. One night, while searching through the attic, we found a photo of my mother and, alongside it, a note in one of her notebooks, addressed to me. The letter was dated shortly before her passing. As I read it, I understood the true meaning of her words. Dear Helena, I am leaving you something that goes beyond the material. I am leaving you the tools to turn your challenges into achievements. Don't let anyone dim your light or dictate what you deserve. You are stronger than you think, smarter than they recognize, and capable of accomplishing anything your mind desires. Believe in yourself. With much love, Mom. I closed my eyes and smiled. I was exactly where I was meant to be. Those words from my mother became the foundation of my journey as I built my business. I had the letter framed and placed on my office wall, a daily reminder of where I started and where I was headed. After retiring, my father dedicated himself to volunteering at a support center for grieving families. He helped others navigate loss without losing themselves in the process, sharing the wisdom he had gained from his own journey of overcoming grief. His lessons became guidance for others. He also became an essential mentor in my project, bringing experience and strategic vision. My company was growing rapidly. The money my mother left me became the driving force that turned my dream into reality. 4 years later, my pharmaceutical consulting firm expanded to 3 regions. My mother's legacy not only secured my future but also allowed me to help others achieve their goals. My father still visits the office, mentoring apprentices and saying it keeps him connected to our legacy. Every Thursday, we have lunch together, making up for lost time. The greatest lesson I learned from Lucy was not about money or betrayal. It was about finding my own voice. My mother knew that one day I would need to stand up for myself, and she prepared me for it. Sometimes, I visit my childhood home. Everything has changed. The walls are a different color, the furniture has been rearranged, and every trace of Lucy is gone. But in every corner, I still feel my mother's presence. Every decision I make in my business reflects what I learned from her. Lucy's attempt to take my inheritance ended up teaching me something invaluable. Situations reveal who people truly are, and being prepared is the best way to respond. On the anniversary of my mother's passing, my father and I went to her grave. We brought flowers from her favorite garden. While we were there, I shared with him a letter I had found among her belongings. He read it in silence, his hands trembling slightly. She always thought about the future, he murmured. At that moment, I understood that every choice to persevere, every decision to build something lasting, was a reflection of what she had taught me. Your mother would be so proud of you, my father said, holding my hands. We stayed there in silence for a few moments, knowing that some pains never fully fade, but love and strength can transform even the deepest scars into wisdom.